Good morning, y'all. I'm Tracy, and welcome to Just Dig It Farms. Thank you guys for joining us. Now, let's get into the garden and talk about what to do in July in the gardens. We're going to look at what to do in the Potager garden, the orchard, and the cottage gardens today. Let's take a quick look at a few things to be doing in your orchard in July. Now my blueberries are pitiful because we transplanted these and they were big established blueberries and we just wanted to give it a try and see if it would work. We transplanted these blueberries over the winter and then we ended up with a drought. I've tried to keep them watered, but they just have really been struggling. Of course we didn't get any blueberries, but I think most of them are going to make it. So what you want to be doing on your blueberries in July, they are pretty much coming to a close of producing your berries. Now, you may still be getting some berries like on your later ones, like centurions and your later varieties. You're probably still getting some blueberries. Whenever you have completely finished harvesting your blueberries, what you want to do is come in first of all and skirt your blueberries. What that means is if these blueberries were healthy and beautiful and established and growing nicely, which they will be next year, but if they were, you would have limbs that would just be like hanging over to the ground. And you want to come in and skirt those, which means you're going to take off those lower limbs and lift it up. You're going to remove all the lower limbs, because next year when they're loaded with blueberries, they're going to be hanging over and dragging the ground. And if they're on the ground, then you're opening up the door for more disease and pest issues for your plant. This blueberry actually has some height on it. It's still not very healthy looking, but I'm hopeful it's going to survive. So the next step would be to top your blueberries. Blueberries can get 4 feet, 6 feet, 7 feet tall. They can get really tall, and you want to be able to pick these berries without having to get on a ladder. So you'll just come in and just kind of top it and take it off to the height that you want it to be and kind of give it some shape. And that way it's going to be easier for you to get to your blueberries. The next thing you want to do is come in and take out any diseased or dead branches, like this one, for instance. I mean, this whole plant's in sad shape, but see, like this is completely dead. So I would take it out and try to take it back to some of this new growth. And like this one, this branch is pretty much dead. So I would come in and take it out. Any that are dead and diseased from the base, take those out. Right now, my blueberries are pretty sad and pitiful. And we knew that moving them from the orchard to the Potager garden, which this whole area right here is going to be a new addition to the Potager garden. It's going to be our orchard and a market garden. And this is in the works of getting created. But we knew that moving those blueberries from the orchard over there to the Protege over here was a risk, and they may make it and they may not make it. And then we had a drought, and that didn't help situations very much. But I'm hopeful. I still see life in these, so I'm hopeful that they're going to make it and pull out of it. And we will see. If not, I will get some more and replace them this fall. These are my grapes on my archway trellis here. And these are table grapes, but these are Pierce disease resistant varieties. I've got Stover, Foxy Lottie, and Daytona right here. And these are all Pierce disease resistant varieties. These are the only ones that I can grow here in the South. There's a few other varieties that you can grow, but they must be Pierce disease resistant. So I'm growing these, and I do have some grapes up in here. Yay. Oh, isn't that going to be beautiful? These grapes just dripping off of this trellis. But you can see I've got some issues here on my grape leaves. And I've seen a few pests on here. So I'm just going to come in and give this a good spraying of neem oil, which hopefully will take care of it. Muscadines are much easier to grow here in the South. It's called the Southern Grape. We don't have our muscadines planted here yet at the farm, but if you do have muscadines, what you want to be doing right now in July is combing your muscadines. That's what Dr. Powell says to do. So what combing means is, you know how muscadines just grow wild and long vines and just kind of get wrapped around each other and get messy, and then it's hard to harvest your muscadines. So what combing is you're just going through and you're kind of combing through them and separating the shoots so that it's easier to harvest your muscadines. The other thing that you want to be doing to your muscadines in July is you want to come in and cut off excess growth on your muscadine vines. Dr. Powell says to leave about 36 inches of growth on your muscadine vines. So you're taking off that extra growth that's on the bottom of the vine that's hanging off and coming off, because then more energy can go into producing better muscadines. So if you want more information on this, go over to petalsfromthepast.com, educational videos, go to muscadines. Dr. Powell shows you hands-on how to do these steps. Now let's talk about blackberries. These are our blackberries. These are Kiowa blackberries. They do have thorns, but they are definitely a more disease resistant and longer life blackberry, and they're just the best as far as I'm concerned. So these are Kiowas, and we just planted these this past fall, and look at all of the growth on these blackberries. So what we are doing at this time of year is your blackberries are finished. They're pretty much completely finished producing their fruit. So what you want to do is cut out the old floricane, which had your fruit on it. You want to cut those out, and we want to start retraining our new, it was a primocane, now we're turning it into a floricane. We want to start retraining the new canes, which are going to be where your berries are next year. Now this is the T-Pup system that Dr. Powell actually created, and this is just a trellis system for blackberries. So you definitely want to get that going right now in July. Cutting out the old canes that had the berries on it from last year, retraining the new canes that's going to have the berries for next year. Then you want to come in and add either a half a cup of calcium nitrate per plant around the base of it, or you're going to add a fourth of a cup of ammonium nitrate per plant at the base of it. So I've got to get to work on my blackberries and get these guys trained properly for next year so that I can have an abundant harvest of blackberries next year. If you want more information on blackberries, go to petalsfromthepast.com, educational videos, go to blackberries. Dr. Powell has a whole list of videos of all the different steps and stages of growing your blackberries like this on this trellis system. And I just spoke to Sophie over at Petals, who is kind of helping them with their YouTube channel, and they just filmed a new video with Dr. Powell on how to do this step that I just told you, how to take out the old canes and start the new canes. So y'all go check that video out at Petals from the Past and learn from the best on how to do this process. So a recap on a few things to do in your orchard in July. Blueberries. Top your blueberries, skirt your blueberries, and take out any dead or diseased limbs in your blueberry plants. Blackberries, it's time to start removing those old canes where the fruit was on them this year and start training the new canes, which will have your fruit for next year. And you also want to give each plant either a half a cup of calcium nitrate or a fourth of a cup of ammonium nitrate per plant. Muscadines and grapes, you want to comb your muscadine vines, so you're just separating all of the new shoots so that you can harvest your muscadines easier. Secondly, you want to cut off any excess growth. You're only leaving about 3 feet of vines. That way more energy can go into producing better grapes and muscadines. I'm spraying my grapes with neem oil right now because I'm seeing some disease and I'm seeing some pest pressure on it. Now let's take a look at what to do in the potager garden or your kitchen garden in July. A potager garden is a lovely, diverse mixture of roses and herbs and perennials and flowers and fruit and vegetables. It's just a beautiful mixture of all of these things. And in my potager garden here, I have a lot of perennials in a border going around my potager garden. As you can see, I've got a lot of different herbs that are overgrown. Some of them have some die out in them. So all of that needs to be pruned out this time of year. Any perennials that have finished blooming, as you can see right here, this phlox, I'm going to leave what's blooming, but what's died out, I'm going to prune it back. I'm collecting any seeds. This is seeds from echinacea. I'm going ahead and collecting seeds. I'm harvesting some herbs. I'm giving everything a little bit of a haircut and a cleanup. And a lot of these will just rebloom again come fall. This is my medicinal herb garden section, and you can see I've got my yarrow here. I've got it all through my garden. It needs to be cleaned up. It's finished, so I'm gonna collect some seeds from that and clean that up. My horehound here, you can see it's spent. It looks pretty messy. I'm gonna prune off, collect all my seeds there and prune it down. More yarrow here in the garden. You can see comfrey coming up between it. I'm going to be harvesting all of that, cleaning all that up, actually making compost out of it. But this is all different kinds of herbals, perennials in here. I'm collecting seeds, harvesting herbs, doing a little bit of a cleanup. I've got my medicinal roses in here, and I'm actually leaving these rose hips that's on here. I'm going to leave those and be able to harvest those. This is mullein. It fell over. The wind knocked it over, so I'm going to clean it up. Just doing a good cleanup on all of my herbs and perennials. Right here, this Spanish lavender has just taken over this bed, and it's crowding out my olive tree here. So I'm going to come in here and prune this lavender back. I'm going to harvest all that actually and dry it. So right now in July, I'm just going through my garden. I'm weeding, I'm pulling weeds and cleaning up. I'm harvesting any herbs that I can and drying those and preserving those. I'm collecting seeds, and I'm just going through and giving my perennials a good haircut or pruning the ones that have finished blooming or are spent, are messy, or taking over other plants, and they just need to be cleaned up. I'm also pruning and cutting back roses and fertilizing. You can go back and look in my other video that I just posted on what to do in a cottage garden in July, and I go into more depth of what I'm doing with my roses and my perennials right now. July in the potager garden is pretty hot. It is very hot here, and a lot of your vegetables that we planted in the spring have finished, or there's a lot of disease and pest pressure to them, like your tomatoes and your squash, and your beans, your green beans are pretty much played out and finished. A lot of your things are done, like the cucumbers, a lot of those are finished. I didn't get any beans this year. I didn't get hardly any tomatoes this year. I did get a lot of squash. I got winter squashes and summer squashes, but I didn't really get beans and tomatoes. I didn't get many cucumbers. I didn't get many of those vegetables this year. My okra still hasn't come up. My sweet corn never has produced yet. It's just kind of been a rough year for the garden and the farm. And I didn't get a lot of vegetables spring and early summer that I count on and that I needed. As you can see right here, these are actually green beans, pole beans, and I planted them when I was supposed to, but they never came up because of the drought, and they're as soon as we got the rain, they started coming up. So I really don't know if I'm going to get any beans off of this or not. It's probably too hot. They may not produce. I don't know, but I'm going to give it a try. We're going to see what happens. We've got a lot of nice foliage and growth, but I haven't seen many flowers or blooms. So I don't know. We'll see. But what we can grow in the heat of the summer is peas. We can still be planting peas. This is Mississippi Purple Hull pink-eyed peas, and this is another one that I had planted earlier, and they didn't start coming up until we got the rain. So I've already got some peas forming on this. So I'm excited. We eat a lot of peas, but I've also started sowing more peas in empty spaces. And my trellis way back there in the back is where I had some tomatoes planted. Chase yanked all of those out for me, and I'm about to sow some more peas back there. So you definitely can be planting more peas this time of year. Sweet potatoes. My first frost date is November the 11th, so I still have, I don't know, right around 100 days of growing season left. Sweet potatoes is one of the crops that can definitely take the heat, and they take about 105 to 110 days before you can harvest. So if you can get a hold of some slips, you still got time to get some sweet potatoes in the ground. I planted these back in I think around the 1st of June, so it won't be long and I'll be harvesting sweet potatoes. But sweet potatoes is one that definitely doesn't mind our heat. I've had different people say you can be succession growing your squash right now too, because we still have plenty of days. Squash is quick. It's quick from seed to harvest. And you could. But what I've found to be true in my gardens is there's too much pest pressure right now to be trying to grow squash. The squash vine borers, the squash bugs, there's just way too much pest pressure to fight to be able to grow these squash right now. And usually by this time of year, I'm squashed out. I've got all my squash put up for the year. We're about squashed out for right now, so I really don't want to grow more. But I've had different people tell me that they're continuing to grow their squash throughout July, and August. So I don't know. I don't do that just because it's not worth the fight for me. Okra is definitely one that you can be growing right now. Okra loves our heat, so you can still be planting and growing some okra. Now we planted our okra in this market garden space, probably in May, I think we planted this okra. And this is really bad soil out here. It's all sandy. There's hardly no structure to it. There's no nutrients in this soil. We didn't add any compost. We didn't do any preparations to this ground. We just tilled it up, sowed the seed, had a drought. So this garden has not been doing too great. Our melons are growing back here, but the okra has just been super stunted. But we got a really good rain last night. Jean threw fertilizer on it before the rain, so I'm hoping it's going to take off. But we've still got plenty of time to get okra. Okra loves our heat. So it really, if we can get it growing, it'll really do great in August and July. So you definitely could be planting more okra right now. The corn, this was sweet corn that we planted, peaches and cream, silver queen. We did all those back in the end of May and June, and we've still not got any corn, and it's pitiful. We're probably not going to get any. But you could be sowing right now a fall sweet corn that Hoss has and recommends, and it's called ambrosia. So if you're wanting to get, and I really should be doing that because I'm not going to have it, we haven't got any sweet corn this year. But if you wanted to get you another round of fall sweet corn to eat, get some ambrosia from Hoss and give it a try. This video is coming out late July. It should have been out 1st of July. But just make a note of this for next year, pumpkins. If you want to have pumpkins for the fall, then no later than 4th of July, you need to get your pumpkin seed in the ground. Now, I planted these back in June, I think. Now, I've already got some pumpkins in here. If you want to have pumpkins by the fall, 4th of July is kind of our cutoff date. You need to have your seed in the ground before 4th of July. Sorry this video is so late, but just make a note of it for next year. So any areas in your garden right now that you have that's empty spaces, get something in those spaces. If you don't plant something, weeds are going to grow. Nature wants to grow. So if it's just a round of zinnias or another round of sunflowers, you have time. So just fill your spaces with something like that, or with peas, with okra, with basil. So just plant something in these empty spaces just so you don't have a bunch of weeds take over. So this is kind of a transition period in the garden between your spring and summer garden and your fall and winter garden. This is like that period where it's too hot for a lot of things to grow. Pest and disease pressure is high right now, and it's not cool enough for your cool season vegetables to be planted and growing yet. So it's kind of this transition period. So in the south, in July, zone 8, we can do okra, peas, some fall sweet corn, sweet potatoes, zinnias, sunflowers, some cosmos, some different flowers like that. You could do basil. That's really about it. We don't have a whole lot of options of things to be planting right now, and to be able to have enough time to harvest it before it gets to our first frost date. So those are some things you could be doing now. Just remember, you want to kind of keep your spaces filled up in your garden. That way you don't end up with a lot of weeds in your garden. And another good thing to be doing this time of year is adding some fresh compost to your garden spaces where you're going to be growing your cool season vegetables. Get some more nutrients into that soil, because everything that you grew this past spring and summer has like depleted your soil of nutrients. It takes that nutrients from your soil and puts it into your plant and your vegetables. So you're depleting your soil nutrients. So you want to always be adding back nutrients to your soil and life back to your soil. So that is definitely something to be doing in July, is adding compost and nutrients back to your soil, back to your garden, where you're going to be planting your cool season fall and winter vegetables. Something else you could be doing right now is cover crops. You can always add cover crops to your garden if you've got empty spaces. And by adding cover crops, you're not just suppressing weeds, you're also adding those nutrients back to your soil. So this time of year, there's only a few cover crops really that you could do because of the heat. But y'all go over to Hoss Tools and check out their website. They have like a Hoss University on there, and there's all kinds of wonderful information about cover crops, about gardening, about everything on that channel. So y'all go over there to get some really good information about cover crops. Greg over at Hoss Tools recommends that you do like short-term cover crops. And about the only ones that he recommends that we could do right now would be this sorghum, Sudan grass, and buckwheat. Buckwheat's a quick turnover, and it's a great cover crop, and it's really pretty. And you can harvest the grain, the seed from the buckwheat, and use it for cooking. So it's pretty nutritious, it's beautiful, it's a quick turnover, it's a good cover crop you could plant right now. Now you could also be starting some seeds in your trays, in your house, in your greenhouse, whatever area you have. But if you have like a covered greenhouse and it's super hot in there, you really don't want to be leaving your seeds in there, because they will burn up, they'll dry out, they'll burn up. Like my greenhouse right now, we have no plastic on here. So I can just leave my plants out here and they do just fine. But I do have to keep them watered. I have to keep them moist, because this heat that we have will dry them out super quick. And when you have these new seedlings, then if they get dried out and it's this heat, they're just going to burn up and die. So I'm out here 2 to 3 times a day watering these little seedlings and babying them. Now, if you want to take them in your house and grow them in your house, you can definitely do that. I just don't want to take all this stuff in my house. You don't need grow lights right now. We've got natural sun. You just need an area where it can get some sun and you can keep your seedlings moist. Y'all check out my moringa back here. It was up probably about that tall, and I took one good harvest of it already, dried it, ground it up, and turned it into our Moringa powder that we use in our smoothies. And Gene puts it on his oatmeal cereal. We put it on everything we can because it's so nutritious, super high in nutrition. Y'all go check out my video on Moringa if you want to know more about this awesome plant. So right now in July, you can be starting some fall tomatoes. Most all the tomatoes that I've started here are like 70 days or so, and I've got plenty of time to grow these up and get them in the ground, and I'll be harvesting these before the first frost. So I've got some beefsteaks, Better Boys, Halcinators, Homestead, Celebrity, Mountain Merits, Sun Golds, and that's it on my fall tomatoes that I planted. I've tried a few cucumbers. I've only had one come up, but maybe I'll get a few cucumbers too. So it's really better to do like your fall tomatoes, your cucumbers, some basils, and I mean, if you want to go for squash, go for squash. To get those in your seed trays, anywhere from the 1st of July to probably like mid-July, that's really your better time to get those started in your seed trays. So you're still going to have time to get you a round of fall tomatoes and cucumbers and basil going in your seed trays. Now what I'm doing right here is I'm getting some seed trays ready because it is time for me to start sowing some of my fall and winter cool season vegetables. Today I'm going to get started my broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, and some cauliflowers. I'm going to go ahead and get those started now, and then in August I'm going to come back and start some of my other cool season vegetables. Another thing you need to be doing right now in July, go through your seeds. Go through what seeds you have, make a list of what seeds you need to get your fall and winter cool season vegetables going, and get your seed order in. So you have your seeds here, you have your trays here, you have your seed starter mix here, you have everything that you need to get your seeds started next month. Right now I'm just starting a few, but now is the time to start getting ready to sow your cool season vegetables. It's hard to think about it when we're exhausted from the garden, the summer garden. It's hard to start thinking about the fall garden, but if you're gonna plant a fall garden, now is the time to start getting ready for that. And I highly recommend you guys plant a fall garden. If you've never planted a fall garden, please give it a try. You will not be sorry. Fall garden is my favorite garden to grow because it's cooler, there's less disease pressure, pest pressure. I love all of the vegetables that you can grow in the fall and winter. And actually we can grow more fall and winter vegetables here in central Alabama than we can summer vegetables. So fall gardens are my favorite. If you've never tried it, y'all please give it a try. You will not be sorry. But go through your seeds, figure out what you've got, figure out what you need, make you a list of the seeds that you need of what you want to grow this fall and winter. Go over to House Tools. It's an awesome company. We love them. They have excellent seeds, excellent tools, and excellent products. Y'all go over and check them out, and if you would, please use our unique link in the description below, and at no extra cost to you, we get a little bit of commission off of whatever you buy, and it just helps us to continue to grow our farm, our gardens, and to create videos for you guys. Y'all get that seed order in, and y'all make plans to grow your fall garden and get everything you need together so that you can start sowing your seeds, because next month we're going to really get on a roll of succession sowing our plants for the fall garden. A recap of what to do in the Potager garden or kitchen garden in July. Number 1, go through your gardens, pull weeds, clean up, deadhead, prune if you have like perennial herbs and stuff like that in your Potager garden, roses, whatever. Potager garden is for everything. Flowers, roses, vegetables, fruit, for everything. So go through, deadhead, prune, pull out anything that's diseased or finished or just full of pest and disease pressure. You may have some tomatoes that's still producing a tomato here and there, and you hate to pull it out, but it's got a lot of insects and disease on it. Just go ahead and yank those out and get ready to put you a fall crop of tomatoes in, and get those spaces ready for your fall and winter vegetables. Or put you a cover crop in there, plant you some zinnias, plant you some sunflowers, something fresh, something healthy. Get your spaces ready for your fall and winter garden. Add compost and more nutrients to your soil. Get those beds, get those rows and spaces ready for those fall and winter vegetables. Please plant you a fall garden this year. You will not regret it. As you're doing your garden cleanup, collect any seeds that you can from any spent flowers, herbs, plants. Collect those seeds so that you can have them to replant next year. Harvest your herbs as you're cleaning up those herbal perennials. Harvest them, take them in, preserve them so that you can use them for culinary or medicinal purposes. You're still harvesting some vegetables, preserving, canning, freeze drying, freezing, fermenting, whatever your processes are, you're still preserving your vegetables. Number 2, go through and fill in those empty garden spaces. Don't leave any soil bare. Fill them in with more food. Right now in the South, we can be planting more peas, okra. We still got a little bit of time to do some sweet potatoes, sunflowers, zinnias, cosmos, summer blooming flowers, cover crops. Greg at House Tools says the best cover crops to do right now are short-term cover crops, and that would be buckwheat and sorghum sudan grass. And I love the buckwheat because it has multiple uses to it. Cover those bare spots with either food, flowers, or cover crops. And those cover crops is going to be adding nutrients back to your soil. Number 3, get you a fall crop of tomatoes, cucumbers, basils. If you want to do squash, get you a fall crop of those going in your seed trays so that you can get them in the ground and have another round of those delicious tomatoes before our first frost. Number 4, go through your seed collection. See what seeds you have left. See what seeds you need. Make a list of those seeds that you need to be able to plant you a fall and winter garden. And go over to House and place your seed order. If you need soil, if you need seed starting soil, if you need trace, whatever materials that you need to get those fall and winter seeds going, get that order in so that you can get your materials and we can really get started on succession planting our fall and winter cool season vegetables the first part of August. And number 5, get some of those brassicas started already, the ones that are going to take a lot longer to harvest. Get those started now in your seed trays. Right now I'm choosing to do Brussels, broccoli, cauliflower, and cabbages right now. So go ahead and get those started. And last but not least, whatever you have growing in the garden right now, keep it watered. Keep it watered. Water is key to life. So keep it watered, because in this heat, things die quick. If you're growing fruit, fruit does not develop without water. If you're growing fruit, you've got to have consistent water go into that plant during fruit development stages. Fruit is mostly water, so it's got to have water to produce delicious fruit. Same thing with your vegetables. We've got to have consistent water. July and August are rough months for us as far as the heat and dry. So try to keep everything watered the best you can. All right, you guys, thanks for hanging out with me and Champ and our new little buddy Clyde here. Thank you for hanging out with me in the garden today. I hope that all of these tips for what to do in the garden in July was helpful for you guys. I do apologize that this video is coming out so late. It is, by the time this video posts, it's going to be the end of July. But we've been sick and I just haven't been able to get it done. But you still have time. You still have time to get a lot of these things done. So get out there and get them done. Thank you so much for hanging out with us in the garden. God bless you, and I will see y'all on the next video.